You're listening to the Startup Spotlight, a podcast hosted by the Cambridge University International Entrepreneurs Club. We're the hosts, Aviel, Taha, and Joanna. In each episode, we'll both be chatting with a successful entrepreneur, founder, and CEO about their story, what they have learned along the way, and market insight of the industry.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Startup Spotlight, a podcast series founded by Cambridge International Entrepreneurs Club, the CIEC. I'm your host, Joanna.
I'm your host, Taha.
Today, we are very honored to have Cornelius and Nicola with us. They are the founders, CEO, and COO at Happyr Health, a rising startup from Cambridge. So, welcome Cornelius and Nicola.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for having us today.
So, how about let's start with a simple question first. For people who are not familiar with Happyr Health, what is exactly Happyr Health?
Yes, so Happyr Health is designing personalized and digital pain management for children. So both me and Cornelius, we suffered from chronic pain when we were younger, and we want to provide all the children who go through this at the moment with the tools to support them to better understand how to cope and how to deal with their condition. Because it's not only a physical challenge, it's an emotional, social challenge, and it impacts your whole life. So if you learn how to deal with it, then you're definitely, or you hopefully get better. And that's exactly what we are doing at Happyr Health. And we are using digital techniques, but also personalizing them to each individual child and using storytelling and gamification to really engage children and provide them with tools they can understand and use.
Oh, by the way, how did you guys meet each other actually? Because I know you are from the same master program at Cambridge, right? So how did you guys meet before the program, and what is your role at Happyr Health?
Yes, so we actually met back in Austria. So I'm originally from Austria and Cornelius from Germany, but we met back in Austria where we both worked for a startup in the software industry. And that's kind of where we started to have ideas on our own and really dream about starting something to help other people. And yeah, that's how it all came together. And we then both came to Cambridge together and started Happyr Health there. And I think in terms of the role, maybe Cornelius wants to start on his role.
Sure. The role of the entrepreneur CEO is, I think, as much as any position in a very early startup, a role of everything. I think where we are more dividing our tasks and become more efficient now is, for example, that I would try to do the business development. I would work on the strategy for everything that has to do with more than 1 year to 3 years, and supporting each other on those kind of roles. I think it took a while to define really the typical roles that we know from employment, maybe in larger corporations. But yeah, I think we find our niches and our things that we are especially good at.
What are the top 3 qualities that you think you guys make you a great founding team?
I think the first one would be the complementary skills we have. As Cornelius just said, he's focusing a lot on the roadmap, on the vision, on the strategy, while I focus more on small details, you might say. So focusing on the product development, where should we position a button, and so these are quite complementary views and approaches also we have to different tasks. And that's definitely helped us in dividing tasks. And the second one would be diversity. I mean, we're both from a German speaking background, but still being male, being female, being two very different personality types helps a lot. And that is something we really value, and we want to continue when we grow the team to have a diverse pool of people from different backgrounds, different ages, different experiences on the team, because it's really helping us to develop the product as well.
Yeah, actually, I'm curious about the dynamics of your work. So do you guys usually work on the same thing, or each one of you focus on a specific task?
So I guess in the very beginning, we used to work on the same thing,
Okay.
which we now understand takes just so much more time. And I think by now and over the last year or the last years, we have grown the confidence to where you feel, okay, this is now my task, my responsibility, and I'm confident I can do it as best as possible for the whole team, rather than always kind of asking each other, what do you think? What do I think? So by now I feel we have the confidence.
Yeah, definitely. Like accountabilities and responsibility is very important in every founding teams. Do you find it difficult to start in the beginning?
Actually, we are quite from the background, as we might say, because of our patient background.
Oh yeah.
So I think there's a deep understanding, of course, of the conditions and the also maybe the emotions of our customer and user group, and also we have an easy access reaching those people because it is something totally relatable. We know exactly what they go through, and even though everybody is quite individual, there are many things that we can relate to. And on top, I come from a paramedic background. I started working as a paramedic in Germany and have also now roughly 5 years of work experience there. And my whole family and also friends background is very medical. So I would say that like even my grandma is a nurse, my brother is becoming a doctor, my parents are doctors, and yeah, I think it's very natural to speak the lingo, and I think for Nikki, she is very familiar with the overall topic as well because of her patient background then.
Yeah, I think like Nicola is with like a patient background, and Cornelius, you are having like a medical family background, and that's actually an important asset for Happyr Health. Like you both are addressing like the business need and also being customer focused. So I know you guys are actually building a lot of collaborations and partnerships with the business in healthcare. So how did you connect with these healthcare professionals to build the credibilities of Happyr Health?
Yes, so I think what is really helping there is like a personal connection. So I believe, for example, our mission is helping a lot to get a first foot in the door. I think that we have always quite an easy access to talk to someone if we are mailing, hi, we are actually patients, we are trying to innovate in this direction, and we come from this kind of background. I think that helps. Finding those contacts is then another issue. But for example, by reading the right publications, by reading the books, you can always find the contact details, or at least you can get connected through the institutions. Like, yeah, following everything that is going on there. Like there are now many online webinars, seminars that are totally for free, where you can interact with everyone. You get access to other patients from that group, but also to all those kind of professionals. And we can say research is always on the forefront of kind of innovation. They are looking actually for partnerships with startups, for example, or with larger corporations. And they have their innovation departments now building up. Even sometimes they have their own venture funds from the hospitals coming.
Definitely, like because partnership is very important no matter in corporates or small startup. So it is very interesting because especially during the COVID time, like we rely everything online. So you guys are very active in terms of some online event, webinars, and I think that is a great opportunity to connect with those, key opinion leaders in healthcare.
So sorry, I just wanted to add something that
Yeah, go for it.
I think you are absolutely right, Joanna. I think the chance to meet all those kind of professionals all around the world is actually now provided, because we would not have the funding and the time to travel from Australia to the US. to Cambridge, and then have manage all those kind of connections. Now it's just one click away, and yeah, I think this is really good. And the pediatric expert, those researcher population is actually not very big. So pediatrics in general is quite a young specialty, if you want to call it. So before that, we were considering children as little adults, and we're also treating them that way. Since 50 years, we have pediatrics as a specialty. And since then, also, of course, research has risen from the ground kind of, and yeah, it's a small population of people to be connected with.
But definitely that is like a niche that's growing, like people are paying much more attention than before, right?
Yes.
So since you guys have your patients are children who suffer from migraines, I think that's a pretty sensitive audience. What challenges do you face compared to other startups who may serve like older customers, etc.?
I think maybe on the patient side, just to jump in there, it's one of the challenges one might not think about is that children are, or maybe it's not a challenge, maybe it's a positive thing actually. Children are super critical, and they really tell you what they think, and that's definitely something where you have to learn how to deal with that. But you really understand, and you start to learn more about this new generation, because that's something where we have grown out of. Even if we're still young, we're learning new things from them every day. And I think one challenge might be that they have different ways of expressing themselves. So when they give feedback, or especially when they talk about their disease, because it's so difficult even for adults to describe chronic pain or describe, for example, migraine, that's a huge challenge anyway, in be it talking to a doctor, be it giving us feedback. So I think that is a big challenge that has to be addressed, not only for our product, but in general in chronic pain in children.
You're very right, vulnerable patient group.
Yeah.
First of all, young, then chronically ill. I think we are always going there through the parents, or through the charities, and then through the parents, where we get like a trusted first partner who is vouching for us, and then we can interact with them. Otherwise, I think it would be quite unethical to try any other route.
Of course. And how about the regulations in terms of having children as kind of the main users? I suppose that there's regulation in Europe, right?
Yeah, there's regulation in Europe and the US, right? For example, when we look at software, there is, for example, GDPR in place. That there's special regulation around that. If you are under the age of, at the moment, I think it's 16, but this will be going down to 13, like the strength of the regulation will go up from 13 to 16 years old, that you would need a parent consent actually for, and absolutely right, but we can learn there from other organizations who have gone through that kind of route.
Yeah. So you guys developed Happyr Health in Cambridge, right? You launched it when you were at the university. I mean, Happyr Health is pretty active everywhere through competition, grants, etc. How useful do you think the University of Cambridge network was?
I would start to answer that, and I hope that Nikki will add anything that I might forget, because it is a lot of things that are super useful from the Cambridge ecosystem in general, I would say. So yes, let's start with the university. I think there, of course, you have the academic background, the personal growth, where you can really outgrow yourself. But then we have also the practical side with the Accelerator of the University of Cambridge, which is and was super useful. So we have our mentors there that are providing us with advice, and also sometimes just support. Might it be emotionally wise, like as an experienced friend to talk to, or might it be the whole cohort of the Accelerator. So there are people who are way ahead of us. There are people we can learn from, where we might also see some competitions, people who start at the same level as we do, or even some where we can provide some guidance on. And like growing together and outgrowing each other is absolutely fun about it. I think then what you already said, like competition-wise, there's the Cambridge University entrepreneurs who are doing, I think it's 3 competitions a year already, a huge network of entrepreneurs and also very experienced people. We have the general Cambridge ecosystem where you can say it's highly innovative. There are all those kind of big tech companies, and there's a lot of talent out there that is very accessible. If you look at getting access to, for example, professors or anything, absolute experts, sometimes worldwide renowned, they are open to talk to you. Again, there it helps, of course, to be associated with the university at to some degree, but then also a mission, and I think authenticity is helping there. Otherwise, we have learned from Peter Coley, who is a very experienced business angel, a very active business angel in Cambridge, that our density of investors in Cambridge is actually the 2nd highest in the world, right after Silicon Valley. So we have an amazing environment there. And yeah, something that we value as founders is Cambridge itself. Like
I would like to go back to that last part. You said there's actually an access for financing at the university, right? As part of the Cambridge Accelerator. So do they introduce you to angel investors, or do they invest themselves? What's the process behind it?
So the Accelerator doesn't invest themselves. It's an accelerator that's mainly based on expertise, on coaching, and kind of bringing together the community. But they do have, of course, a great network in Cambridge. They are connected, so they help us prepare for funding rounds. They know people in the network. But there is a different program, Cambridge Enterprise, which is from the University of Cambridge, not connected directly to the Accelerator, but directly connected to the university. And yeah, that's an option if you are at Cambridge.
Actually, like there's a lot of students at Cambridge, they are interested in starting a business. So if you have to give one advice for them to start, because there's too many options, what would that be?
Difficult question. Maybe I can start and Cornelius has some different advice. I think for me, especially for students doing an undergrad maybe, or even doing a postgrad who want to go into a startup, but maybe have not their own idea yet, just reach out and kind of get some experience in the startup world. Really understand if that's something for you. That's what I did. So I started in Austria as an intern for a startup, and then kind of was taken on full time. But that's how I got to understand how the startup world really works. And I think Cambridge is doing really well, or Cambridge students are doing really well there. And we have a great team of students who is helping us also to build MVPs, build prototypes. And I think that's where we are grateful also to share our experience as a startup, and they can learn and see if startup and being an entrepreneur is really for them.
Yeah, and in terms of Cambridge ecosystem, I mean, if you are a Cambridge student and you are already kind of specializing on a certain path, then the Cambridge ecosystem might also be the right one for you. But just it could be that you have a totally different concept, totally different path in mind for your startup, something that is out of your kind of expertise and your studies. Then I would say, do not look only at Cambridge, look at the ecosystem that is the most matching one to you. So if you are highly financially driven in the finance sector, then maybe London might be the right one. If you are way more on the commercial side, also something else outside of Cambridge might be the right one. Maybe then the US is better. But if you are, for example, coming from a STEM background or anything that is valued already in Cambridge, then it makes a lot of sense to stay and to use the overall ecosystem for you.
Like, it totally depends on your startup sectors and what are you good at and what is like the kind of business you want to build. and the location is very important in this sense. So like Nicola, you just mentioned about MVP, right? So you guys have built like a beta testing or like an MVP of Happyr Health in Cambridge. So we want to know like what would be the go-to-market strategies?
Yes, so at the moment, the prototype we have is tested with selected users. So we have great parents, children, healthcare professionals, so experts in neurology, in childhood pain, in different sectors to really try it out at the moment. So we get the essential feedback, but we plan to roll it out in spring next year as an app to be available via app stores. And this will focus mainly on migraine management. So we're choosing migraine as the first chronic pain condition to focus on, and their children get a storyline and get some gamification elements that support to keep track of their emotional but also physical well-being. And this app we will, of course, just publish on the app stores, but for us, more importantly, is that everybody who, of course, tested it will get immediate access, and we will distribute it via our charity collaborators, where we have great partners in the UK, for example, the National Migraine Centre in London, but also in Ireland or US. So in Ireland, Migraine Ireland is also the National Migraine Association there. So all these collaborators will get a link and will get the update when the app is launched to share it with their community. And additionally, of course, we have built our own community via social media support groups and via talking to a huge group of people, and we'll share with them as soon as available.
I see. So like you mentioned, like gamifications is actually an important element of your app, right? So we know games are very powerful, and nowadays there is more and more research supporting the benefits of gamification, especially in children. So do you think it's also like a trend in healthcare, not only just like educations, and how does it actually works?
Yes, I believe it becomes a trend, or it's becoming more and more, especially also in the healthcare sector. As you mentioned, we know it a lot in the education sector. And I think the most important 3 points are: it's more accepted by children or by young people because it's something that they understand. It's a mode of communication they are used to and they enjoy. So for healthcare, this means that apps or programs, whatever, if gamified, potentially has a better retention, so a better adherence to the treatment, which then can, of course, improve treatment outcomes and treatment effectiveness, which is very essential. And the third point being that it's a non-conventional way of behavior change. So I think behavior change is becoming more and more a topic, be it in nutrition, in sports, in mental well-being. You really have to stick to your routines to get kind of a healthy habit of something. And that's definitely challenging, especially for young people who have a lot of challenges in their life, a lot of changes as they change schools, as they have different friends. So it's a period where they do have a lot of inconsistencies. And with gamification, they can be supported in learning healthy habits and good behavior.
I have a question concerning the business model of Happyr Health. What is your strategy in terms of monetization?
Yes, so initially the very first part of the app will be made available for free with all features, but as we expand the features, more detailed analysis, a better suggestions of strategies the children should follow, so really including a deeper analysis of what's going on, then there will be a small subscription fee for a premium app, although the main features can still be used because we want to make it as widely available as possible. But we are continuing to really get a clinical evidence as we're integrating also more the personalization of treatments. So we're looking at including artificial intelligence to really understand how we can match coping techniques, could be meditation, breathing techniques, education on certain topics, and how we can match them with the individual child. And for this, we work with hospitals, with universities to gather the clinical evidence needed to become a medical device, which will then be offered to hospitals, to clinics, but we're also talking to pharma companies if we can support some kind of research, how they, to basically to improve the understanding of pediatric pain.
Yeah, and in terms of challenges, what challenges are you guys facing right now?
Yeah, I think one of the main challenges that we are having right now is that we have like we work by de-risking things. So we test a lot of things before we really develop a lot to just avoid all the risks that can encounter us in the meantime. And now we have done a lot of validation. Now we have a lot of opportunities tested that we want to execute on. And for that, we want to grow our team now, because we see there are too many things that are now building up in the pipeline that we cannot do as a two full-time co-founder team, even though we get a lot of support from sometimes part-time people. But yeah, we are looking to grow.
Yeah, like sorry, Taha, please go on.
Yeah, you said that you want to grow the team. Do you have any website where our audience, if they're interested, can go and check out the available positions?
Oh, I wish we were so sophisticated yet with our open positions. No, we do not have that kind of section. But we are both active on LinkedIn, and we have, of course, our website happyrhealth.com, where you can contact us as well. We have our email that we usually are getting reach outs from. It's hello@happyrhealth.com, and I think that we will be looking at, especially now, at the technical side. So we have quite a few software developers who we are considering to hire as a third member. Then also on the AI aspects and on the psychological aspects, we are at least having contract-based members who help us out.
Cornelius, you mentioned about you guys wishing to focus more on the AI side, the technical side, and maybe like to develop like medical grade device. So can we actually get a preview of Happyr Health? So what will be your company roadmap? And in the long term, what does the future Happyr Health looks like?
Yeah, I think when we look about our next steps, then there are some who might seem quite logical. We are now getting deeper into migraine and in a young population. We have been focusing on children aged 8 to 12 years old so far, but we see now there's more traction actually additionally coming up at young adults. So there are, or at least young people, we can name it that way. So we are now broadening our audience there from maybe 8 to 16 years old, and then we will continue to see what the traction is coming, where the traction is coming from, and also what kind of needs we can fulfill. And then for the like medium and long term, we want to broaden not only the audience but also the disease spectrum. So there is a lot of chronic pain out there. In total, we can say there's a whole, it's I think 27.5% of young people who are actually having some kind of chronic pain condition. Could be abdominal pain like I had when I was a child, could be migraine, could be musculoskeletal pains, for example, back pain. And we want to provide solutions for them as well. And we hope that we can move from migraine tracking, kind of information building from data, to then intervention delivering out of those kind of knowledges that we gather, and then provide the right intervention there.
From what you have mentioned, so Happyr Health will aim at broadening the target audience, not only just children and maybe the young adults, and also your service is not only confined in some niche disease. So I think Happyr Health is doing amazing, and we are actually very excited for your launch next year. So let us know, and we will help to spread the message and let everyone to enjoy your healthcare service. Thank you.
Truly. Your story, guys, is inspiring, and the vision as well. And thank you for coming, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having us. It was a pleasure again to meet you.
Yeah. Thank you, Cornelius and Nicola. So we will see you again. See you guys.
See you. Bye-bye.